getting back to you soon. But right now, we're going to go back to these live pictures of the procession for those 3 deputies killed this morning in an explosion at the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department Training Center in East Los Angeles.
Those deputies just put into those vans that are going to be taking their bodies to the medical examiner's office for further examination. The thought here is that they were injured or killed actually in an explosion that may have been caused by a grenade that they picked up, and they were in the process of disarming it.
That's right. They picked up that grenade actually Thursday evening from a home in Santa Monica, and we understand through Mike Rogers that they are there in Santa Monica right now, serving search warrants to try to find out where this explosive device possibly was taken from. And of course, if there are more, I mean, they have to take so many precautions in something like this.
It's a big investigation, Pat. Local and federal investigators checking into this one, right?
You know what struck me too, Juan? This is the LA County Sheriff's Department, and when I watched the news conference early this morning, I saw LAPD Chief Jim McDonald, who of course was the LA County Sheriff from 2014 to 2018, probably knew these gentlemen. They had served, I believe, 9, 22, and 33 years respectively. So that's a long time on the force. So this is just, you know, it is affecting everyone, I would think, in law enforcement.
And the 3 deputies killed, Mike, experts in their field. They were talking about it earlier today. They knew exactly what they were doing. Their jobs were to handle these type of devices.
Yeah, and you think someone that's been on the job for 33 years is close to retirement. I mean, that's at the end of their career, and they had promoted obviously probably a number of times into the specialized unit where they are at right now. And you know, you mentioned Pat, Chief Jim McDonald was there this morning. His department, without hesitation, jumped in, sent their bomb squad out here to render the rest of the scene safe after that explosion. So you imagine that after, this is the bomb squad, this is LA County Sheriff's, they call it something different, that's their arson and explosives unit, but for all purposes, it is their bomb squad. And when something like this happens, they obviously are scattered, they're devastated, there's a whole mix of things going on there. So the LAPD stepped in and said, look, we'll come make sure this area is safe and you guys can handle what has gone on and obviously the investigation, but the tragedy that now that unit that is usually supposed to come and do this is now dealing with.
And I want to correct myself, I said 9 years. These gentlemen had 19, 22, and 33 years respectively. And from what I've read, it takes a year of formal training, but actually several years working in the field to be considered proficient in something like this. So you would have to know that these gentlemen, and I'm assuming that they're all gentlemen. We don't quite know that yet because we have not found out their identities. But at least Sheriff Luna has not released that yet because he wanted to make sure the families were all properly notified.
Earlier today, the sheriff said that he had spoken to 2 out of the 3 families of the victims here. So he might have spoken to the final 3rd family.
Yeah, and you know, obviously, when it comes to an official capacity, the medical examiner also has a role in identifications and things like that. And you know, we were talking about it in the break. This whole thing with this grenade being found, or 2 possible grenades being found in the Santa Monica neighborhood. You know, here at the desk, we actually go to those fairly frequently. People clean out their garages, a box of items that their parents had that nobody's looked at in, you know, however many years, and they open it and they say, oh my gosh, there's this thing in here, it looks like a grenade. And 9 times out of 10, they are absolutely inert. They're either, you know, replicas or don't have any kind of, you know, materials in them anymore. But there is obviously that situation, that one in, you know, whatever chance that in this situation, it looked like there was still an issue with that grenade, and it potentially exploded here as these bomb squad officials were trying to render it safe.
Trying to move it. Because again, we want to note, it was picked up Thursday evening.
Right, in Santa Monica.
Yesterday in Santa Monica. You know, that unit also deals with, we're talking about those ordnance that can date back from now to World War I. In fact, we've heard about things like that, but also suspicious packages. You know, possible other explosives. They check on these things, it sounds like, on a daily basis for the most part.
Yeah, they run the full gamut.
County.
They run the full gamut of operations. And it goes to point out that the Sheriff's Department is the law enforcement agency for the county. They went into a jurisdiction that is not necessarily theirs to help out a partner agency, to help out, you know, a neighbor agency that is smaller and doesn't have their own bomb squad or explosives detail that can handle a situation like that. So they came out to help a different agency deal with that. And this is, you know, kind of unfortunately all how it went down. But to your point, point, Pat, yeah, this is, I mean, they're frequently on types of calls like this, whether they end up being, legitimate calls like this one, or calls where somebody sees something that's weird and you open it up and it's nothing. But we have, done several, breaking news reports about the bomb squad being out at some sort of incident within the county.
And Mike, earlier we were reporting that these officers may have been operating with the knowledge that perhaps these grenades were inert, right? That they weren't.
Yeah, I can tell you, when I spoke with a law enforcement source at Santa Monica, they were very much under the impression that these objects were inert. So that, they'll always go through the correct, protocols and procedures, but certainly if you have been in the field with it, this was many, many hours after they had removed it from the location, that they believed, and at least the source that I spoke with believed, that these items were inert when they took them from Santa Monica.
And let's be clear what they're doing in Santa Monica right now, because I don't want viewers listening thinking that they are just evacuating an entire block because they know that other possible explosive devices could be there. But this is really protocol, is it not?
It very much so is. And it's really pretty much confined to that one building where they were called to yesterday. They have that street blocked off just, for law enforcement activity, but it is pretty much confined to that 800 block of Bay Street in Santa Monica. And they'll, admittedly, this person who called this in yesterday didn't know they were there. So certainly now they're going to want to go out there and make sure there are not other things in that area or in that home or that apartment that this man or this person who reported it yesterday also didn't know about. So that's why they're also authoring a search warrant here, right? Because they'll need that permission from a judge to go in there and do that investigation and do it with the bomb squad, the ATF, and the FBI.
Could this person who reported these grenades and turned them over find themselves facing charges?
It really depends on all the circumstances. I would say, in general, if this person was truthful about all of the information and everything that he found and said, hey, I truthfully didn't know this was here and I called. If he did it in good faith, I would assume not, unless there's some extenuating circumstances that he knew they were there and he didn't call earlier and that caused some sort of issue. But I would say that in general circumstances, if he was acting in good faith, he probably would not be charged. But certainly that'll be part of the investigation.
Now, we know that this facility is at, the 10 and 710 freeway.
Right.
They're going to the medical examiner's office in Lincoln Heights.
Yeah, right next to...
That's not that far away.
No.
However, do we know the route, the procession that it's going to take, actually?
We're trying to sort that out right now, and I hear Des is coordinating with our assignment desk on how that might be. The other issue we'll have, and for safety purposes, they put up a big flight restriction over the area, so we'll be navigating that. But yeah, Pat, it's not far at all. I would assume they'll jump on the 10 and take the 10 west, and then get off in the Lincoln Heights area at the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner.
Mike, Pat brought something up earlier that there's not a lot of destruction that we could see. We saw those SUVs with the blown out back windows. Where exactly did this happen?
Yeah, we believe it happened just right there in the parking lot. We don't believe that they were in a building. We don't believe that they were, taking it inside of anything. And in general, and every situation and every case is different. In general, if they wanted to render safe is the technical term, but essentially if they wanted to demolish whatever this object was, they don't usually do it here. There's a facility up at Wayside, which is near NCCF, the correctional facility up there in the Santa Clarita Castaic area, that they would transport it to. It's open space, it's much more contained up there to be able to handle this type of thing. So I would assume in general they were probably examining the item, but not necessarily trying to destroy it at this location when this happened, because that's not generally where they do that.
Well, I noticed, I was telling Juan that a window had been blown out of an SUV. A lot of glass has been reported to be around, and so you'd think these possible that deputies were killed by like flying debris or shards of glass or something like that.
Yeah, and that's, the medical examiner will, of course, make that cause of death determination. But, I pointed out, I think in the 4 o'clock hour, the facility there in East LA, it's a very large complex for both Los Angeles County Sheriff's and the fire department. And in fact, there is a county fire station. Fire Station 1 is maybe 200 yards, 300 yards from this location. So certainly if that fire station was not out on a call and those firefighters were there, they would have been there in seconds to be able to render aid. So this wasn't a remote situation, and it just goes to show you how powerful the blast was, or how significantly quick the injuries were, that no matter, even though the fire department was on those grounds already, unfortunately they weren't able to be saved.
Yeah, we heard from some residents nearby who said they certainly could hear it and feel it, and didn't quite know exactly what it was. I heard one father, I believe, say, well, I knew it wasn't a firework explosion.
And that, I think that same man, Pat, said it was a very deep, bass sounding. He said it felt like he felt the impact. It felt like an earthquake, he said.
Well, we can imagine from the pictures that we are seeing that the streets are lined with law enforcement, and not only law enforcement, but residents that live in the area and will obviously be paying close attention or following the procession of the 3 deputies as they are driven by. This facility has been, we can easily look it up. I don't know off the top of my head how long that it's been there, but you can imagine that there are families also that have been in that area, so they're very familiar with the law enforcement in their community. So it just strikes particularly hard. And I don't think I'd be remiss in talking about what we've experienced here in our area, for all of us, in terms of law enforcement, sheriff's deputies, LAPD, with the law enforcement activities that have been going on here. And that, of course, that includes the raids, that includes the fires. We've had everybody, all of our law enforcement personnel involved in one way or the other. So to see this happen today is just so terribly, terribly sad, and especially sad for the families of these deputies.
All law enforcement working so hard, right, Pat? The 3 bodies still in those 3 vans you see there, right in the middle of your shot on the left side of your screen there, and in that shaded area right below the shot there, Pat, I saw some members of the LAPD, members of the sheriff department, all waiting for these vans to eventually make it to the medical examiner's office. Just watching what's going on there, and it looks like maybe the drivers are starting to get inside the vans.
And it should start momentarily. They certainly have. They've had a lot to deal with. It's one thing when you're dealing with one of your fallen comrades, and when you've got 3 together like that, that's that just really magnifies this situation even more. And I'm sure the grief that they are feeling right now is just tremendous.
And as you said, Pat, 3 deputies with an incredible amount of experience. No doubt they've met a lot of their co-workers, a lot of people know them, and now an entire department in the city mourns their death.
And this is also the first time they have had this many deputies die in one situation since, I think the sheriff said, since like 1858, I think he said. Yeah, 1857. Thanks, Marisa, is what the sheriff had said earlier. And it's not a similar situation to this, but not long ago the sheriffs dealt with that deadly explosion up in Castaic at a gun range facility. Now in that situation, it was gunpowder that exploded after being kicked up by a bullet when they were training. So not the same situation, but still an explosion and fire that took that deputy's life not long ago.
Yeah, and you have to, for those of us who live here, and especially if you're in the media, of course, we've been talking about explosions. First thing I thought about was that fireworks explosion that happened several years ago that had to do with fireworks, and they were trying to move it.
And it was inside a van, and it was in a contained area, right?
And it's still just a monstrous explosion. So you think of all these things that have happened in recent years, were certainly nothing like this, and especially because it was at that training facility.
Right. Yeah, and unfortunately, these deputies lost their lives, but this wasn't done on a street or in a community. This was done, at their center. So this is the Biscaloos Training Center, which is what in the name, it's a training center, but there is also the explosives arson unit is also kind of based here. So
it's a specialty.
It's a specialty unit. So Sheriff's has kind of 2 main properties. They've got Hall of Justice downtown, which is where Sheriff Luna is, and some of their other executive staff are down there. But then over here in this East LA area, this is the huge sprawling complex where you have a lot of the specialized units are based out of, including the arson and explosives units, Air Rescue 5, Special Enforcement Bureau. Those guys are based out of this area too. And it looks like we're starting to see at least one of the vans begin to move, and here they go. Yeah, so it looks like the procession is about to get underway.
This is so respectful to see this, and how each officer, each sheriff deputy has his own van. It's done with so much respect, and we're seeing just the amount of people that are lined up watching this unfold.
Yeah, so much dignity, as it should be.
Right.
But just the case even makes it even more sad to witness something like this. And again, this is a route that Mike was saying isn't that far, considering just in terms of where these 2 where this facility is and where the medical examiner's office is in Lincoln Heights, like maybe 13 miles or so, something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty close. This shouldn't be a very long procession because CHP, other units will close the freeway if they're going to take the freeway, which I assume that they will. They'll shut down the freeway and then head over. So it'll be a fairly quick procession. As some of these go, depending on where these deputies or law enforcement die. Sometimes they end up being very, very long.
Right.
This one shouldn't be the case there, and they'll obviously have another set of law enforcement firefighters set up at the facility there at the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner. I also see a sheriff's helicopter is overhead as well, which will help escort the motorcade and the procession there to the medical examiner's office.
It's always something when you see those, the ladder with the flag. That's just, there is beauty, but again, such sadness because you know why it's there.
And it's the fire department taking part in bringing their ladder trucks to do this, to honor those who lost their lives today.
As we said, there's so many, different law enforcement agencies. Mike mentioned CHP. We know LAPD was there, their bomb squad unit, the FBI, ATF, and of course the fire department. And there we have a motorcycle unit following the vans directly behind this procession. Well, actually in front, leading off the procession, of course.
Mike, you were saying about flight restrictions over the area. Is it because of this procession? I mean,
it's not. It's because of the investigation and the volatility of what was at the scene there. There's, and this is not uncommon when we have explosion scenes. The vibrations of our helicopters can, in certain situations, cause issues if the explosives are that volatile. But B, it's a lot of the times so that they can communicate with each other in a quiet or controlled manner without the noise of all of our helicopters overhead. So they put up a flight restriction so that we could not be there, not for the procession, but to protect the investigation as they are trying to do this.
Oh, this is, wow. This is really something.
Yeah.
Looking at the motorcycle units with their flashing lights and their flags, escorting their fallen comrades to the examiner's office, and then we can't help but think about what will follow. Services, memorials for these brave deputies. This shot is coming from our SkyCal, and Desmond Shaw's overhead now. And Des, we want to bring you in the conversation and describe what you're seeing.
Yeah, well, here we are, Pat, and you see the ladders here from LA County Fire. You had mentioned the flags and the hook and ladders, and there they are right here forming a archway as they come out onto Eastern Avenue right now. And you see, quite a few vans. The three in the front will be with the medical examiner's office, a massive kind of squadron of motorcycle officers out here as well. And as we get up to the 10 freeway, we anticipate that we will see the on-ramps blocked here. It's going to be, a very short procession as far as those go. They'll exit at Soto Street. There is LA County Sheriff's Deputies helicopter right there going through the shot as well. And, if most of these processions are very large as they for any type of incident, but considering the, severity of this, I'm wondering if it's going to be even larger, even though, like I said, it is going to be a very short one here, maybe just about a mile's distance on the westbound 10. So they will use the assistance of CHP to shut down the lanes of the West 10 as they escort the fallen deputies over to the medical examiner's office in the Lincoln Heights area here as we zoom in. And we're showing you this again from over 6,000 feet. They actually bumped us up even higher. I believe it was at 5,000 feet earlier, now about 6,000 feet. So having to use the zoom lens here to bring this shot to you, and we will begin to really see the procession fan out now as people leave the facility where this the tragic events occurred earlier this morning. And, you mentioned there will be other processions later as well from the medical examiner's office to the mortuary in the coming days. But we'll see, I'm sure, a lot of fans of law enforcement, a lot of people that will be out here giving their final respects. And as we are northbound on Eastern now, approaching the 10, we'll see if we see any other firefighters on. I don't see any on the bridge yet, but you can see right here, lanes of the westbound 10 being stopped by CHP to give space to this procession. Pat 1.
Could he multiply by 3, Pat? You think about it, and you can see just the enormity of it unfolding right now.
As I said, we don't see things like this often at all. In fact, I remember seeing something like this where you have three deputies or three members of law enforcement that lose their lives at the same time in something like this, and having their bodies transported to the medical examiner's office. It gives you pause, certainly, and thinking that, you know, this happened at 7:30 in the morning, from what we understand, and to see that this, you know, is how the day is unfolding. It's just something that's so very, very unexpected, but so very, very sad when it does. And as we're seeing here, so very visual. Look at the law enforcement vehicles there.
Just doing their job on a Friday morning. And Mike, we're seeing so many cars here. We see unmarked cars. We see all sorts. Do we know whether family members ever take part in these processions, or who's all part of it?
Yeah, that would be likely. The vans that Desmond was pointing out, so you've got the ones that are carrying the bodies, and then those stream of other white vans that were behind it, I would assume are family members, loved ones, you know, people who knew these deputies that lost their lives today. And usually, yes, families are involved in this, but because, again, we are talking about a tragedy multiplied by three, you're talking three sets of families, three sets of loved ones. You know, whoever wanted to be in the procession. I would also venture to guess that there are probably other members of the arson explosives unit in some of those vans as well that are being, you know, taken down to be a part of this. Usually we see when they carry the caskets or you know, move them from one place to another. Sometimes it's medical examiner. Sometimes it's the members of their unit that want to be a part of that transfer of their fallen you know, coworkers and law enforcement family. I mean, you get these specialized units, and these guys work very closely together. You talk about guys and women that have to deal with potentially live explosives. You have to be able to trust the people that you work with, and you build that special bond, and you become even closer than, you know, some people that are on patrol or in other you know, capacities of law enforcement. There you see the sheriff's helicopter in Desmond shot hovering at a very low angle, and you've got all of the vehicles that are involved in this between fire agencies, law enforcement.
Wow.
Everybody's really out there. And, you know, to be clear, left side of your screen, both shots are live. The left side of your screen is Desmond on the freeway. The right side of your screen are still the vehicles pulling out
from the center, the training facility.
Right. That shows you the length of this procession.
Yeah, that's what we were trying to discern. And all the different types of vehicles, Mike, to be described in the picture that we're looking at. And, you know, we talked about the magnitude of having three fallen comrades, if you will, but at the same time, think of the years of service. That's 19, 22, 33 years when they do each other well.
Yeah.
And a very, very long time.
A very, very long time, and you imagine that they've obviously been with the department for very long. They've probably worked in multiple specialty units. When, you know, a lot of people, when they go into law enforcement, they've kind of got their idea of this is where I want to end up, and I got to go through patrol. I got to go through the, you know, in some situations the jail first, and they work their way through the different jobs of the department to get to the division or the unit that they want to be in and spend their careers in. And these guys, likely that was their path that they took, and unfortunately it ended in such a tragic way.
And if you're on the 10 freeway right now, I can only imagine what this looks like in person. Just so incredible there. They're taking that center lane there, taking the bodies of these sheriff deputies, these investigators, to the coroner's office. And again,
look at the vehicles lined up on the bridge, Juan, and some of them that was law enforcement as well. I could see some black and white.
Just incredible. And Mike, this is basically done, as Pat was saying earlier, out of dignity, out of respect.
Right.
All these cars, you know, escorting the bodies to the medical examiner, right?
Yeah, it's such an age-old tradition that unfortunately when a member of law enforcement, and even in the fire service or medical field, we see it as well, where they do this procession just to thank them for their, in this case, decades of service to the community, and to really show their families that they are loved and supported, and that everyone is here for them to do what they need and get through this incredibly difficult time. And that is what we are seeing today, and it's such a very large and you know, tragically beautiful fashion tonight.
Yeah. You know, also very far-reaching. We understand that Attorney General Pam Bondi issued a statement of condolences to the department and to family members, because this is something, again, that we don't talk about. that we haven't seen, we haven't witnessed, and especially at such a heightened time in our communities, and it has been for many months. You could tell when you listen to some of our own executives. Supervisor Barger was at the press conference today, along with, of course, Sheriff Luna, who was very emotional at the end there. And again, standing behind him, almost called him Sheriff McDonald, but LAPD Chief McDonald. You know, it's difficult for them because this is also a heightened time in their lives as well. And now we see a number of those, probably are what, community members, maybe one.
And I see also some black and whites there, Pat. I see some people in uniform as well on the bridge there. Saluting as this procession goes by. And you see those members with the blue shirts. I think those are like cadets, or right, Mike? Somebody like that from the fire department?
Or civilian. They're called law enforcement technicians. So they're probably in a civilian role.
Incredible, right?
Yeah, that's breathtaking to actually view that as well. Not sure what those white trucks are. Mike, do you know?
They look like, I mean, they're tow trucks.
They look like tow trucks, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if they're just, I mean, you know, a lot of people, that is interesting. A lot of people, you know, just like to stop and show their support. And, you know, tow truck drivers, as strange as it sounds, they actually work pretty closely with law enforcement on crash scenes and various things like that. So they may just be wanting to stop and show their support as it comes down. You know, people have known about this all day, right? And there is, the time of the procession was made public a couple of hours ago. So they're aware that this was going to happen and this is the likely route for it. So a lot of people in the community just like to show up. On the right side of your screen, we're looking at the LA County Fire Department lowering the American flag after the last of the cars have gone through. They'll, you know, obviously take great care of that flag and put it away. And unfortunately, it'll go back into probably storage to be used, sadly, on the next one, as they have done this before.
This is very odd. I don't want to use the word routine, but it is planned. It is ceremonial.
Ceremonial,
so yes, that's a good word to describe it, or a good word to use here. So it does follow, again, certain protocols. And as you mentioned, Mike, earlier too, when they get to the examiner's office, there will be another contingent probably of officers there to greet this procession.
And I'm sure all that, Pat, also brings comfort to the members of the department too, right? The fire department setting up the flag, the escorts that take place, these sheriff deputies. Look like it's a sheriff deputy and an LAPD officer there in the middle of the street saluting the three vans as they go by. So it's just something that's very unique to people who serve in law enforcement.
And as we said, this is something that we understand they do on a daily basis. You know, they go out or they retrieve packages. They get a call to come pick up something that you know, could be an explosive or something that could be deadly, and they do that every day. I was very surprised actually to hear that. But that's something that is a usual occurrence or a daily occurrence. But you know, it's very. You don't hear about something like this where it turns out to be something that happens, not what you expected, certainly.
Not at all. Never routine,
not
right?
What you planned.
All right, well, let's check in back with Desmond Shaw. Des, where are they right now?
We'll put the map tracker back up right here and let you know Marengo and Cornwell Street. So very near the medical examiner's office here in Lincoln Heights after exiting the freeway there at Soto Street. So frankly, I mean, the distance of the procession from the facility to the medical examiner's office is almost as long as the trail of vehicles that are, you know, joining in on this procession, to just kind of give you an idea of how long that line of vehicles is. As you see now, some of their comrades here, the LA County Sheriff's deputies here that have lined up, and we've seen so many of these at so many different places where this has been, you know, it's a really huge coordinated effort, not just with CHP stopping the freeway and stopping traffic on these roads, but all of these personnel getting into place with all of these agencies now as we are arriving, going right in front of USC Medical Center. And you can see all of the other, this is going to be most of the sheriff's deputies here as well. There's probably a mix of LAPD in there. And I'll widen out and see if we're going to see another set of hook and ladders with an American flag? And I believe, yes, we will. So this is going to be, so as they left Viscaloos and then now over at the medical examiner's office, you can see kind of poetically, you know, you have an American flag hung there at both sides. So they're getting ready to cross that threshold, and then you will have a lot of deputies lining up to give another salute as their bodies are escorted into the medical examiner's office.
Just how they have lined up the vehicles and positioned the cars along the route there, along the street. This must be the arriving, would you say, Des, the arriving motorcycle unit?
Yes, this is the very front of the procession right here, and it is generally motorcycles that we see kind of are always in the front of the honor guard here, and here they are again. More than a dozen of them, I would say maybe closer to 2 dozen that are out here with sadly 3 vans, and there are a lot of other vans as well if they're family members of the 3 deputies. Quite a few, not just the 3 vans obviously for the 3 fallen deputies, but it seems like a lot of other vans as well that perhaps maybe, you know, carrying close friends and family along. Here you can see, you know, 3, but then quite a few more, and that's kind of not something that we see often with these processions. Usually you would have the vans, and then we would start to see the squad cars and the fire engines, but you see just how many people here that are lined up. Sheriff's deputies on one side, LA County Fire on the other side. Everyone at attention here, giving their respects as they get ready to cross the threshold of the 2 hook and ladders here that have that American flag.
Incredible to see, Pat, as you were saying, it's almost like they're in formation.
All right. Desi, wanted you to finish your thought there.
No, just, yeah, I mean, it's very obviously sad, but it is incredibly poetic, too, to see them come through this threshold with the flag kind of waving in this gentle breeze. Just, you know, an incredibly solemn occasion here as they arrive at their, well, I wouldn't say final destination for now, because we know that they will be arriving here, and then at a later date, probably within the next week or so, when they have the services for them, they will do this again when they escort them to the mortuary, which a lot of times is for the one up at the top of the Kellogg Hill off of the 10 freeway, but not always. We'll certainly learn that probably, you know, at a later date within, I would imagine, the next 3 or 4 days. We'll learn when those services will be held.
I just have to mention again just how this is choreographed, if you will, with how the vehicles, I'm glad you explained that, Desmond, with the Sheriff's Department lined up on one side, the Fire Department on the other. And from this view, from the chopper, there's so many personnel on the ground there. They almost don't look real.
Just the amount of fire engines in this shot, Pat.
To one another, lined up in columns. It's just really such an incredible, dramatic, and as you said, Desmond, poetic sight to see.
Not only the vehicles, Pat, but in front of every one of those vehicles, there is a person standing there saluting the procession going by.
So, Des, now once they arrive and they have the bodies and they take them inside, then there is a dispersal, correct? People really don't linger,
yes,
departments don't linger. And I'm asking this, I mean, we follow processions, but we haven't seen this many. We haven't seen a procession with these many bodies, if you will, Desmond. That's why I'm asking that question. It's so huge.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you know, times 3, tragically, it's, you know, typically 1 that we've covered. So this is, you know, kind of unprecedented for me. I mean, just saying how long it's been since there's been any instance like this, not, you know, in the modern era. So yeah, I mean, we'll see if they're even able to kind of fit all of these vehicles in here, and this will be a very long line of people that will be lining up to give their salute as the caskets are unloaded. And then you will have, you know, a dispersal of a lot of vehicles leaving in kind of a short amount of time, but probably kind of staggered. so that they don't get in kind of like a massive traffic jam. But actually you can see a lot of now vehicles are just going to, looks like most of them are going to park here, and now you can see people getting out right now, and they'll just walk in. There's definitely not room for all of these vehicles. And I mean, let's widen out. There's still plenty of vehicles to cross the threshold right in here that are coming. I mean, there's so many, you can't even get it all in the screen even up here from 6,500 feet. So lots of unmarked vehicles, a lot of civilian vehicles, a line of deputy vehicles. There were also some LA County fire engines kind of bringing up the rear of this. So just a lot of personnel involved. I'm not even sure if everyone has exited the San Bernardino freeway now at this point. Actually, maybe they have. I believe this is the rear end of it here with these motorcycles. So bookended by motorcycles on both ends here, but they just got off the freeway here as the bodies have arrived at the medical examiner's office.
Now, when they reach the medical examiner's office, of course, they will take the bodies inside. The families will go inside. Is there any type of, I don't know if conference is the right terminology to use here. Where Sheriff Luna or somebody will speak possibly to the press or to others that have gathered at the medical examiner's office, because obviously we know everybody can't get in there. But
at this point, we've not heard of the sheriff coming out and speaking at all after this. This is generally when they do these things, this is more of a closed off kind of thing for them versus coming out and speaking with the press. I mean, I think the sheriff is also being very careful about the investigation that is underway right now as well. And he, at the press conference earlier, said there was a lot of things that they didn't know and a lot of things they couldn't share just yet. Right. So I think at this point, and you see, I believe the people that are all getting out right here are all family members or loved ones of the deputies that will come as the bodies will be taken out of the back of the vans. At this point, though, to your question, Pat, we've not heard of the sheriff coming out and speaking. Certainly, I'm sure an email went out to his sworn staff, the civilian staff. I'm sure he's had lots of conversations with the unit involved in this, the families involved in this, but I think their focus right now will be to get them out of the vans, get them into the medical examiner. And then remember, the medical examiner will still have to do an investigation, and the medical examiner will still have to do autopsies and the like, and figure out, how give the official cause of death and all of this as well.
And while all this is going on, Mike, there's two separate areas that are investigative scenes, right?
Yeah, you've got, we're here at the medical examiner, but then you've got the scene back at East LA where the explosion happened, and then we've got the search warrant that is being served right now in that neighborhood of Santa Monica. So unfortunately, there are detectives and deputies that aren't able to be here because their work is figuring out exactly how all of this went so terribly wrong.
And I can imagine, though, there's still people that are forming that may not be part of the family members or who else is allowed inside, but just really a sense of shock among the personnel to really just experience something like this and realize that, yes, this is happening. Yeah,
this is happening and has happened, and we've talked about this a little bit earlier, but just nothing is really routine in law enforcement, even as routine as these calls may be for them to go out and get objects that are suspicious or what have you. And I don't remember the last time that they have gone to a call of a suspicious item and it's actually caused harm. I mean, I would say, and again, this is anecdotally, but I would say, 99% of the time they go to these calls, they deal with them. I mean, certainly the one we remember is the LAPD one where the total containment vessel exploded, but to end in death like this is not something that is commonplace at all.
So let's think about LAPD officers who go out on a daily basis and fight crime.
Right.
The family members are thinking about, are they going to come home?
Right.
Or something going to happen? But as you were just talking about and listening to what you were saying, this is not necessarily something you think about with this particular unit because they've been involved for so many years.
Right.
and they've come home.
Yeah,
But
and certainly
this was something different.
The randomness of this kind of unit is a little bit different. Certainly they're dealing with explosives, which is different than worrying about being attacked in the street. But, yeah, to your point, I think patrol deputies and patrol, officers are, certainly probably have that more of that feeling in them than these guys who have been in the specialized unit that really have the luxury of time and doing all of these things. Not, I don't want to say luxury of time, but they usually can take their time with when rendering these items or investigating these items where, it's just such a different type of unit.
And a lot of times with explosives, Mike, these officers use robots and they use different techniques to make sure that they stay as far away from danger as they could. So again, the thought here is maybe they really did think this was, not, it was an inert a grenade that was safe perhaps to move around, and clearly we saw what happened here.
And they would go home and talk about
That's
it.
right.
Probably if they had a companion or family members or even friends. You can imagine over the years what they've experienced when we've talking about them going out almost daily to investigate calls that they received. We saw something from an ordnance from World War II.
Yeah.
The stories.
Right. Well, and there's a world,
told.
and this will all come out in the investigation, but there is a world here where they went home last night and told their family about this, right? We don't, there is definitely a world here where they stored this object overnight at their facility in East LA, and then we're going to examine it and figure out what to do with it today. And, there's a world that they went home last night and told, oh my gosh, we went to this place in Santa Monica and told the story, I'm going to go back and deal with it tomorrow at work. And then this is what happens.
And what we're thinking, Mike, is that this explosion happened in the parking lot of this training facility, right?
Yeah, right there in the parking lot. And I can't tell if I thought that was the sheriff there for a second that I saw walking with the family members. But yeah, it did happen in the parking lot there. Again, this is the Biscaloo's Training Center, which is also where the specialized unit is housed out of. The arson explosives unit is housed out of. So again, were they preparing to take it up to Wayside to dispose of it? Were they trying to x-ray it to see if it did in fact have it? Whatever is going to happen will come out in the investigation, but there is, looking at everything that has gone on, the totality of the circumstances, if they felt comfortable enough to move it from Santa Monica to East LA, then they probably thought they were pretty confident that it was either inert or stable enough to be able to either handle it or at least move it from Santa Monica to East LA.
Many hours later.
Yeah. This was, and we're working with, let me see if there's any, I'm looking for the time frame and exactly
when they picked it up
when they were in Santa Monica yesterday. So I'll see if I can find that. But yeah, this was many hours after they had gotten it.
Yeah, so you move it that far from Santa Monica to East LA, and it is there for several hours before you attempt to move it. It's just, we'll have to find out what the investigation, but it sounds unusual.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that because it seems like we would have, possibly heard about something like this before in terms of what they pick up, what they bring back to the training center, and maybe decide they're going to move it later. But why, this instance is just unusual.
What will be difficult in the investigation is what caused this has exploded, right? So it's going to be hard, maybe not impossible, but difficult to figure out. You can't put it back together after it's exploded, right? So what caused, did it malfunction? Was it not as stable as they thought it was? What exactly went on? And that gets difficult when your evidence has exploded.
And maybe you're hoping that there's maybe some sort of surveillance cameras in that parking lot, Mike, that may have caught something, right? That would lead them in the right direction here.
Now you see all the law enforcement personnel? I could tell it's because of the uniform. So as we were saying, that everyone won't be able to get in to the office per se, but they could possibly gather and talk to one another outside.
Support each other,
yeah.
right? And earlier, Pat, we saw folks that looked like they had civilian clothes on. They were the ones that were escorted right to where the vans were. So once again, part of the procession, we're guessing, is that family members of the officers who were killed here are there to see them being taken into the medical examiner's office. And look, again, they've created basically a corridor of law enforcement there.
On either side, and that is so That's unreal.
Hundreds of people.
Yeah, from here, from this vantage point. Desmond, are you still overhead with us?
Yep, I am still here, and you can see now how they park the vans right kind of underneath this canopy of trees, and there are just so many people that want to line up here. You can kind of see one of the vans, one of the three that's peeking through right here, and there's going to be a lot of people that will not be able to, I think, line up in the kind of direction of where the caskets will be escorted through. So it's going to be kind of like an overflow crowd, which I'm not sure that I've seen before, frankly, just giving you an idea of how many people are involved in all this. So all of these deputies and some LA County firefighters preparing. There's the three vans, and they may be preparing to, I'm not sure if they may be getting ready to open one of them, but they'll be having three final salutes, really unprecedented ceremony here at the medical examiner's office in Lincoln Heights.
I asked that question too, Desmond, because as many of these as we have covered, I don't remember seeing this many people.
Right.
And when I say people, I mean, deputies, law enforcement lined up at a facility, ready to receive or to give a final salute, as it were, at that facility. There's certainly not enough room, but the way they have lined up here, it's just incredible. And again, you wonder about, this is, you say routine, but it's not something that they expect to do.
Right.
I wouldn't necessarily plan for this. However, with the ladder, the flags, we know that is protocol and that is routine. But something like this, for us to say we haven't seen this before, is pretty spectacular.
And I think we're going to see each one of those deputies, special investigators, have their moment being taken into the medical examiner's office. As we see now, a clear view of those three vans that, as Desmond was telling us, parked just under the canopy of these trees here, with family members not too far off to watch this all unfold.
When I look at them lined up like that, I will say, reminiscent of Randall Smith, the first SWAT officer for LAPD.
Wow, yeah.
To be killed, and his body was taken, he was buried in Inglewood, I believe. And I just remember that the lineup through the streets was just incredible, to witness something like that, not only with people that lived in the neighborhood, but also, again, so many different aspects of law enforcement. Randall Simmons. So to me, looking at this, it just brought back a lot of memories of that particular day, because this is such a display of emotion, of respect, and again, something we just don't see.
And just bringing back Randall's name, Pat, I just remember that
Randy.
moment when it happened, and just the amount of people that he impacted and touched, and how the community came out for him, and how they were really shook when he was killed. Also in the line of duty, and again, this is now being multiplied by three different investigators, shaking the city once again.
And this is just the beginning, of course, of this. As we said earlier, we will be watching. There will be memorials and services through the coming weeks, multiple services for members of the same law enforcement family, which is very, very unusual. Well, unprecedented, actually, You're watching KCAL News at 6 on CBS Los Angeles, and we have been covering this explosive story from the very beginning, where 3 deputies lost their lives from an explosion this morning. But we're also, at this time, watching the procession. It has arrived at the LA County Medical Examiner's office in Lincoln Heights from that training facility in East Los Angeles. And just looking at the law enforcement vehicles and the deputies, the fire department, so many people lined up to actually witness this procession, to salute, and also to show up at the medical facility, which Desmond Shaw overhead in SkyCal providing us these pictures. We've been talking about how unusual this particular visual is, but then we're talking about something very, very unusual and very sad that we are witnessing.
Absolutely, and I did notice, Pat, you know, it looks like they really are going to try to make room for everyone if possible by making multiple rows. It's usually, you know, just one long continuous. There are now 2 rows that have formed here, and yeah, I
Wow.
don't believe I've ever seen so many deputies lined up right here, and there are still more that are coming in. You know, I was watching them coming in off of Marengo Street right here, and just below the trees near the vans, I think there's maybe some close friends and some civilians that want to be here as well. So, but they're making, you know, as much room as possible. Well over 100, maybe, you know, several hundred deputies now at this point that have showed up from all over the county, as well as LA County firefighters. You see them here in the blue right here around the corner. So we'll see here perhaps within the next few moments. It looks like you have someone who's kind of leading this procession, kind of letting everyone know how this is going to go. And back here, the van's underneath the trees, and more deputies, maybe some from the Special Enforcement Bureau that will be preparing for the salute here as they are escorted inside the medical examiner's office, Pat.
So you would say, Desmond, from what we're seeing, that they will probably be taken out of those vans and make their way through this procession, or through these the lineup of people that we're seeing here?
Yeah, and you know, we'll see if they're going to kind of do one at a time, or if they will be kind of all 3 at the same time, because again, this is not something that we've ever witnessed. You know, fortunately, I mean, up until this point, it is unprecedented, as we've been saying. So that's why we're seeing as well an unprecedented number of deputies that are lined up, and LA County Fire, and it just you know, a lot here. Not sure who this, some, you know, high-ranking, maybe someone with the Special Enforcement Bureau is just kind of talking to some of these people right now. But, and again, bringing you the view here from over 6,000 feet, as we actually have not 1 but 2 flight restrictions that are kicking in, not just for this tragedy earlier at the Sheriff's Department facilities, but also with the Dodger TFR, which is getting ready, TFR, temporary flight restriction, that's getting ready to kick in, and they kind of overlap together, so we're not really able to descend and continue to bring you this continuous shot. So if it looks kind of far, it's because it is at over 6,000 feet up in the air, but you can still see the sheer number of people that have come out to pay their respects for the 3 slain deputies, Pat.
Yes, and it's just amazing to see all of the vehicles there where they have room for them. We've seen how they were lined up. That was choreographed so very well, but then it even just goes to show the magnitude of how many people are there, and the magnitude of really what has happened today. Something that hasn't happened for the Sheriff's Department in well over 100 years. I believe Sheriff Luna said at least 167 years or so. So this is very unusual, to say the least. We're looking at, looks like there's some activity in the back of the vans there, Desmond, if I'm right.
I believe so, and again, just really curious if it will be kind of 1 at a time and then a full salute, and then the second and third, or if they will bring all 3 out and escort all 3 at the same time, if they'll be lined up next to each other, or, you know, one behind the next. We will find out shortly here, just see if they're waiting for anyone else to line up. I believe that they do have everyone in place now at this point. I'll just give you one last view of how many people they were waiting for, and how many people, how far away these the various deputies and personnel had to park. So you know, it took just quite a while to get everyone into place right now, as it was kind of looking like they may be preparing to open at least 1 set of doors from the medical examiner's van, and to kind of the beginning of the end of this procession and this massive show of respect.
Looking at this picture, would you say, Mike, that they are going, I see where the vans are, but they are going to go through the front?
Yeah, they're going to take them through where the vans are, and then they'll walk them past all of the personnel. And then there's the area where they usually bring bodies. Usually the vans don't stop here. They go all the way up the ramp, and then there's a garage right there that they can pull into and bring them into there. So that's where they will take them in. And I also noticed, and it's blocked by trees right now, but there's even a bagpipe player down there. So yeah, Des, when we come back around, he's he's got the bagpipe, he's got white shoes on, and he's right under that canopy of trees right now. So they certainly are making this a good memorial to these 3 deputies that lost their lives and will now go into the medical examiner's office for the investigation portion of this, as the medical examiners will conduct autopsies and all that stuff.
And guys, just again, I don't remember seeing that.
Yeah.
Having a bagpiper at the medical examiner's office, but considering how large this is,
right.
the procession, the people that have gathered there, not everyone could possibly be able to go to the services where we would see the bagpipe. We would hear, and see the visuals and witness the actual memorial itself. So this is just a fitting tribute, and certainly gathered in just a matter of time to have this happen.
Yeah, in just several hours, the sheriff's department was able to put all of this together and coordinate all of this. And again, it's unfortunate that they have to do it, and it's unfortunate that they know how to do it because they've had to do it before. But to your point, with the magnitude of this and how frequently and how large scale this really is here, and it looks like we're starting to see maybe some of the family members come in, and they'll surround, right there where Desmond is highlighting, they'll surround the medical examiner's vans. And there, Des, see him right in the center. If you move your magnifier down a little bit, that is where the bagpiper is. Right there. Keep going down. Yeah, he's to
the bottom of that circle.
Yeah, to the bottom of the circle. I think we'll lose him in the tree cover again there. But yeah, he was right in there. I don't know if he's playing already, but certainly that'll make the moment even more special and somber.
Well, we have been covering this story since the explosion happened this morning around 7:30. There are several new developments to tell you about at 6 o'clock. We have team coverage beginning with KCAL's Lauren Posen. She is live in East LA where that blast happened early this morning. Lauren?
Well, Pat, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department and this entire community are just devastated. The procession came through here about 45 minutes ago, and it was just so somber. The sheriff telling us this afternoon that what happened this morning, this explosion, was the deadliest incident in his department for more than 160 years. I want to go to some video from this morning to better tell you exactly what we're learning here. Law enforcement sources tell us that a homeowner in Santa Monica was cleaning out a garage on Thursday and found several items resembling grenades. CBS News reports that the sheriff's bomb squad took at least one to the training facility here, and that's where the team was working to render it safe. But tragically, the device exploded just after 7:30 this morning, right here at the training facility, killing 3 deputies, all who were assigned to the arson explosive detail. The explosion was so powerful that it shattered the windows of these law enforcement vehicles. The LAPD bomb squad responded to the scene to help secure it and ensure any other potential explosive materials were safe before moving them. Now, this incident is under investigation, but the sheriff says it could take weeks to months to fully determine exactly what happened.
This is, unfortunately, the largest loss of life for us as the LA County Sheriff's Department since 1857. Between all 3 sworn members, they had served our community proudly for 74 years, and that's amongst all 3 of them collectively. 19 years, 22 years, and 33 years.
The FBI and ATF are assisting in the investigation. As of right now, the names of those deputies killed have not been released yet. No one else was hurt. Pat?
All right, thanks so much for that reporting, Lauren. And as you mentioned, this all began with a discovery in Santa Monica KCAL News assignment editor Mike Rogers joins our live team coverage from the desk. He's been here all afternoon. What have you uncovered so far, Mike?
Yeah, Pat, a couple of things. One of those things just broke. The ATF now confirming their national response team coming in to take over this investigation. They are a very elite group within the Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosions division there of the Department of Justice. They handle large-scale events such as the Palisades and Eaton fires, as well as bombings, the Oklahoma City bombing, even a portion of 9/11. So a very skilled group of experts that will come in and try to figure out exactly what happened. Meanwhile, in Santa Monica, warrants right now are being served at the building where those two explosives were found yesterday. Now, a source within the Santa Monica Police Department tells me that those officers responded there, as Lauren mentioned, when someone who was cleaning out their stuff and found what appeared to be two grenade-looking items in there. Now, the Santa Monica Police Department tells me, or my sources within the Santa Monica Police Department tells me that they were believed to be inert at the time they were taken there from the scene to the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department by those bomb squad technicians. Certainly, we know something has gone on and gone wrong in that location. Now, here in Santa Monica, the building where it was believed to have come from has been evacuated. Detectives have obtained a search warrant to go into that property, into that building, and begin to search through it. Because again, remember, the person who called 911 yesterday said he found them. So they're not sure if there may be more items in there. The ATF, the FBI, the LAPD bomb squad are all on scene looking through that building and conducting that search with that search warrant. Pat, and again tonight, the ATF saying their national response team has been activated in this situation to come handle this and investigate exactly what went wrong here.
Okay, Mike, well, you know, we've been checking the safety record at this facility and of the LA County Sheriff's Department as a whole. KCAL senior investigative reporter Ross Palumbo is here now, and you're going to tell us what you found, Ross.
Well, Pat, you know, of course, there are inspections at all of these facilities to help keep everyone safe. The state and federal officials conduct inspections of facilities typically after an accident or a complaint. So we checked the history for LASD and found there have been a few inspections in the past that have led to citations and some pretty big fines. In the last 5 years, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, lists 14 inspections here at LASD that have led to 39 citations. Now, most of those have been contested. At least 3 of them were at LASD training facilities, and most of those violations appear to be minor. But one of them appears to be this incident from the training range at the Pitchess Detention Center in Castaic. You'll probably remember this back in October of 2023. Deputy Alfredo Freddy Flores was injured in an explosion and fire here and died 6 months later. Another deputy was also injured. OSHA has since issued 5 citations and fined LASD several $100,000. Those violations are all currently still being contested by the Sheriff's Department. Now, the case is still ongoing with no final resolution. We have obtained a lawsuit that the Flores family filed just 2 months ago, claiming LASD failed to properly maintain that mobile gun range there, leading to his death. We have reached out to their attorney, but have not heard back, at least not yet. As for the rest of the record, there are 4 other LASD incidents that involve fatalities, but all of those were related somehow to COVID. As for today's horrible, tragic accident, we didn't find any inspections for the facility where that accident happened today. And overall, an expert in the field told me that the number of inspections, 14 over 5 years, actually seems relatively low given the size of the Sheriff Department, Pat, which is, you know, one of the largest law enforcement agencies in the entire country.
Indeed. All right. Thank you for that reporting, Ross. And stay with KCAL News and KCALnews.com throughout the evening for continuing coverage of the explosion at an LA County Sheriff's training facility. We are also streaming on CBS News Los Angeles.